Today we're going to talk about creating circular graphics in Adobe Illustrator CS5. Let's start by creating our canvas. Go to File, New. Here's your dialog box for creating a new document. I'm going to leave it as untitled, but I'm going to come down here to my dimensions. Over in units, you could change it to pixels, centimeters, or anything else you feel comfortable with. I'm going to leave it on inches, and I'm putting it at the dimensions of an iSchool technology showcase and or capstone poster, 30 inches in width by 20 inches in height, and then I'm going to say OK. We got a nice big canvas there. So let's start by reviewing the location of some of the basic tools that you're going to use for every single project. Up here we have our toolbar. As you can see, when you click on these different menu items, you have a full range of other macros to use. This is your, directly underneath your toolbar, you have your option menu. These options will change depending on whatever macros you choose up here. The default is stroke, style, and then you can change your canvas dimensions at any given time using the document setup button. Over here, this is your toolbox. A lot of these you can move out to places wherever it's more natural for you. I'm going to leave it where it is right there. And then let's review some basic tools that we're going to be using. This is your selection tool, this black arrow. This selects entire objects. The white arrow is the direct selection tool, and that selects anchor points. So each object is made up of several anchor points. If you select an anchor point, you can, let's say, lengthen the size of a line, change the curve on an arc. You can do lots of different things with that, manipulating singular anchor points. This is your pen tool. We're going to be using this today. There are several different options. We're just going to be leaving it on the default pen tool. This is our shape tool. By default, it creates rectangles. It's selected to create rectangles. The way that you get the additional options for each tool in your toolbox is to hold down the left-hand button on the mouse and then keep holding it down as you scroll over each option. Once you've selected the option that you want, you simply release your left-hand mouse button. And since we're going to be using circular graphics, I'm going to go ahead and select the ellipse tool and let go of my left-hand mouse button in order to do so. So as you can see, our mouse pointer has become a crosshairs. That's how we know that our shape tool has been selected. We're going to start today by drawing a circle. By default, the ellipse is just going to draw an ellipse in accordance with your mouse motion. However, if you want to draw a perfect circle, you'll both hold down on the left mouse button and the shift key as you pull out. So I'm going to do so now. So I'm holding down shift and the left hand mouse button until I get the circle the size that I want it. It's a perfect circle. When I'm ready and I'm satisfied with that size, I'm going to let go. We're going to be creating some concentric rings. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to make several copies of our circle here, and I'm going to right click to get this sort of special menu option dialog box, and I'm going to go to transform and scale, and I'm going to scale this circle 120%. And since I'm wanting additional circles, not just to change the size of the original circle that I created, I'm going to press copy. So it looks like the original circle disappeared, but my new circle was simply put on top of the older one. So I'm going to actually create 2 more copies of this, so in all we have 4 circles. So go ahead and right click on the larger one that you just created and go to Scale. You can leave it at 120%. Copy. Move that one out so you can see it. And then do that one more time. We're going to go to Scale. It's already set at 120%. Copy. Okay, now we're going to line these up one on top of each other. And Illustrator is great because it provides us some guides that will tell us when the centers of both circles are matched up. So as you can see, the center has appeared. We know that it's in the middle, so I can let go. Then I'm going to move the next one. So what we've encountered here is that the first circle the second circle that I moved on top disappeared into the larger circle. So while it's still selected, I'm going to right click and get my menu option here and go to Arrange and then select Bring to Front. So when I click out of the box, I can see my circle. And we're going to do that exact same action for my next two circles. So let's move the next largest circle in here, get it lined up at center. Let go. While it's still selected, right click, Arrange, Bring to Front. And finally, let's do that with the smallest circle. Gonna line that up to center, let go, right click, bring to front. Now in order to keep it like this, I'm going to use a really handy thing in Illustrator, which is grouping and ungrouping. So to create a compound object temporarily with these circles, I'm going to select all of them by clicking on them and then pressing Shift and clicking on the other three until they're all selected. Then I'm going to right click and select Group. Now when I move one circle, they all move together. This is a temporary fix, and I can group and ungroup, sets of circles, pairs of circles, maybe 3 out of 4, and move those and isolate the other one. This is a useful tool, particularly if you're dealing with lots of different shapes and you're sort of creating a flyer or a banner or something. We're going to start creating wedges. So 3/4 wedges, 1/4 wedge, a 1/3 wedge, and so on. Cutting out different parts of the circle for each concentric circle. So what I'm going to do first is show you that each object that you've created so far is essentially a layer. And the way that I isolate those, even though they're grouped together, is I double click. And as you can see up here, this layer 1 has shown up. Now what we're going to do with this large circle is I want to create a 3/4 wedge. So the way that I do that is I start by creating a vertical line across the diameter. And in order to get a perfect line, I do much the same as I would if I was trying to create a perfect circle. When I do my second anchor point, so I'll delete that line. Here's my initial anchor point. When I do that second anchor point, I press Shift, and it's going to give me a straight line, and I let go whenever I have it where I want it. So now we're going to select the line that we just created, and you can tell it's selected when it has these anchor point boxes around the entire line. We're going to come over here and use the Rotate tool, and I'm going to rotate this 270 degrees and do Copy. So what it's done is it's effectively divided it into 4 different wedges, but I'll show you how to create a compound shape out of just 3. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to select all the parts of this image. So both diameter lines, both vertical and horizontal, and then the circle itself. I'm going to right click and get my menu here, group them together, and then using my Pathfinder menu, which you'll find under Window, Pathfinder. Oh, now I need to select them again. I'm going to divide these items. Now that I've divided them, if I mouse over each wedge should highlight blue because it's now its own object. But what I'm going to do to create a compound shape out of the 4 wedges is select those 3, like so, and come back over to my Pathfinder tool and exclude. So I'm excluding everything that is not selected. So it's just created a compound shape out of the 3 wedges that I had selected. I can unclick out of there, select the 1 wedge that I don't need anymore, and simply use backspace to delete it. Now, I can click on the rest of my circles and they reappear on top of the other one. Let's move on to the next circle. Double click that. For this one, we want to do a half, and that's pretty easy. It's just going to be 1 vertical diameter line, so come back over to the pen tool, line it up, and then I'm going to select that line and the circle. I'm going to group them, and then I'm going to divide them. Click out of the box. As you can see, I have 2 separate halves, and the half that I'm going to delete is the left half. So now, moving right on in, I'm going to go on to my second smallest circle, double click that, isolate the layer. For this one, we're going to do a third. So to do a third, I'm going to need to do 120 degrees twice for my line. So let's start with that pen tool in the same spot. Make a vertical line. Then I'm going to select that line, and I'm going to use my rotate tool, and I'm going to copy that line 120 degrees from its current location. And then I'm going to do that one more time. Copy. So a third is going to be 2 out of these 6 wedges. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to select all of these lines and the circle itself. I'm going to group them, divide them. As you can see, they're all separate wedges. Then I'm going to select the 2 that I want to create a compound shape. And I'm going to exclude the rest. And now I can select the wedges that I don't want to be there and backspace. They're gone. And here's my top circle. And we'll leave it as is. You can sort of create your own circle graphs, images like this with varying arcs. They can help you to visualize information about resource proportions, such as time spent doing different tasks or varying amounts of funding from different agencies during a project. One example you might do is this circle in the middle maybe represents 8 out of 8 weeks. The 3/4 wedge might represent an activity that you did for 6 weeks of the 8 weeks of your project, and so on. So as you can see, information visualization is a great way to get creative with your data, learn a new program, and make it more visually engaging for your readers and audience. Thank you.